Hi and welcome to Leitrim Daily. My name is Brett Early and you're listening to the Sports Roundup show here on the podcast. Now, it's been 13 years since Leitrim hosted a game above Division 4 level in the Alliance National Football League, and yesterday Cork were the visitors to Avantcard Pairc Sean McDiarmada to make sure that record was finally settled off once and for all. It wasn't to be Leitrim's day though, with Cork running out 115 to 9-point winners on the day, but that probably doesn't do Leitrim a service. Most pundits, and we've talked about it enough on the show, would have put Leitrim's chances at taking anything out of the opening two games at close to zero. But a point from Derry and a fighting performance yesterday in Avantcard Pairc Sean McDiarmada has absolutely put Leitrim into a really good position, both in terms of points but also in terms of team spirit and morale within the camp, ahead of some winnable games over the coming weeks and 2 months. It was an interesting game. Leitrim went toe-to-toe with Cork for the first 25 minutes to half an hour. Score for score, they matched them, and at that point, they made two fantastic saves at either end. Diarmuid McKiernan pulled off two fabulous one-on-one saves from the Cork forwards, while Dara Rooney had two fantastic opportunities but saw amazing stops from the Cork goalkeeper to keep both teams in it up until that point. But then a couple of unforced errors saw Cork capitalise and really punish Leitrim by scoring 1-2 unanswered in the last 5 minutes of the game to go in with a 6-point lead, 1-6 to 3 points at the interval. It wasn't to get much better in the second half. Despite losing a player to a sin bin for 10 minutes in the middle of that half, Cork never really looked like relinquishing that lead, and they finished the game the stronger, 115 to 9 points. It was a good performance from Leitrim. Let's hear from Terry Hyland and my man of the match, Diarmuid McKiernan. Terry, what are your thoughts after that game?
Well, I suppose I have mixed thoughts, you know what I mean? As I said to the other lads there, I thought that we started well, we worked hard. Okay, we probably played again a second week in a row, we played into a strong breeze, but I thought we had coped pretty well. We got to the 22nd and 23rd minute, somewhere around that, and then we coughed up 1-2 or 1-3 cheaply after that, and that really what cost us the game. It gave them a gap, it gave them a little bit of a cushion, and they could do things then differently in the second half than they would have needed to do if we had kept it to a 1 or 2 point game.
That last 5-10 minutes before half time, it didn't come back to bite us against Derry, but it happened again today. What do you put that down to?
What do we put it? Elementary error. We made errors that we shouldn't have made. It's as simple as that. We give a ball away too cheaply. I did felt maybe we were a little bit more in our shell today. Maybe it's the fact of a home game, or maybe when you're on the bus and you're away for half a day, the thing is different. I don't know. It's just it's small margins. It's very hard to pin them down exactly what it was. But there was no reason for it. As I said, we did compete very, very well for the first 20-25 minutes. People say, okay, they had 2 goal chances, but we also had 2 goal chances that we didn't take in that period as well. So I would call that a balancing act, and it all probably swung on them 4 or 5 unforced errors. I think we had about 15 or 16 in the first half, and that was too many in the game, and you cannot give the ball back to the opposition that often, that easily, because it's going to kill you.
In terms of where the league is now, we're 2 games in. Most pundits and neutrals would have had us on 0 points at this stage of the season in their expectations. We have a point on the board, 5 games to go, 5 games that we really should be able to compete in. You must be relatively happy with how the first 2 games have gone in reflection.
Yeah, well, look, the lads were just saying there about some of the results, and the problem with now it looks like a dangerous league, in that possibly Cork are the team that probably will go on to head it if they play as they has been playing so far, and I'm sure they'll have a blip somewhere around the line, but then everybody else is fighting it out. And I was saying to the lads there, it's one of those leagues where you could get promoted on 7 points and you could get relegated on 5, so they're dangerous leagues, those. But at the end of the day, that's only maths we're talking about. It's about next Sunday, it's about Longford, it's about every game at a time, because you can't accumulate unless you start winning, and that's the first thing we have to do. We have to start winning.
Couple of injuries creeping in there as well. A few players came off. Jack Gilheany seemed to get a knock on the head. Fergal McTague had a sore leg when we came off. What's the prognosis on those?
Well, again, I haven't got in to see them as yet. Fergal looks like a dead leg. As you rightly said, Jack took a heavy hit in the middle of the pitch. We'll have to see where they're at. That's what it is, but that's what we have a panel for. That's why lads are about. Unfortunately, if they are not fit to partake next week, somebody else will have to step up.
In terms of the goalkeeping position, it looked like a problem 3 weeks ago when Diarmuid McKiernan came off here against Roscommon. You've got Brendan Guckin back in the team. Sorry, you've got Brendan Flynn back in the team. Apologies. And also Killian Gaffey there as a third choice. It looks pretty strong in depth now.
Yeah, well, that's the way it goes. You know what I mean? To be fair, Brendan and Killian come in. Killian Gaffey is in with the under-20s. We're bringing him in to get him in with a little bit of coaching. He's a young fella, very promising young fella. And unfortunately, also, I think the soccer fraternity is looking at him as well. But look, that's a sign that he's a good lad, and when lads are looking at a lad like that. And Brendan has come back in as well, which is good. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what you want. You always have to have good backup, and we have that at that point, at this juncture.
Sometimes you learn more in defeat than victory. What did you take out of today's game? What are the positives you'll bring home from that?
Well, again, I go back to our battling in the end. I mean, we still come up and we kick the point at the end of the day, and we could have given up Shane Quinn, and how Shane Quinn actually played very, very well all through. I thought he was our best player, and he worked hard. It's just, again, a communication thing that we have to work on, and we have to, want to get on it. I think sometimes there's a psychological thing or a fear factor that, if I get on and make a mistake, well, I'm in trouble. If I don't get on, I don't make a mistake when I'm not in trouble. So, I think just a little bit more bravery, and they'll bring these lads on an awful lot.
Listen, hard luck in the results today, but well done in terms of getting to this stage of the league with a point.
Thank you.
Diarmuid McKiernan, what's your thoughts after that game?
Look, I suppose we came here with the intention to give a good game to Cork. I think we did at times. They moved the ball well, they held the ball well too, and it just frustrated us at times, and they kicked on. They're a good side, but look, we'll rebuild from what happened today. There's lots of positives in it too, so we'll take what we learned today and we'll move on, and hopefully next week we'll have a better result.
A lot of goal chances, particularly in the first half. You pulled off 2 or 3 one-on-one saves that probably you had no right to do. How much do you know about them, or is it just reflexes at this stage?
Oh, look, I suppose you're there to get hit by the ball more so than anything else, and that's you're loose in the head, some people will say to you. But look, you just throw yourself at it and you hope it hits you. At times, if you've time to react to it and get set on it, it's good. But look, you're there to block the ball, and at the end of the day, that's the keeper's role. So it's doing it for the team. It's a team game at the end of the day, so you have to do your best for them.
You slipped over 1 or 2 of the kickouts there. Was the ground tough to play on today?
It was very heavy out there, right? Yeah, look, I suppose when you're rushing too a bit and the pressure they put on a high press at times, and the pressure comes to you. Look, underground footing plays a factor as well, so it's something to be worked on in training. I suppose it's something to target for the next game and see how we can improve on them kickouts.
In terms of the last couple of weeks, you came off injured against Roscommon in the FBD game that we won't talk any more about than that. People were surprised to see you on the starting line out against Derry last week, but 2 solid performances. You must be happy with how the league's going from a personal point of view.
Yeah, look, I suppose I took time when it happened at Roscommon. I suppose the AC joint wasn't in the best shape, but I looked after myself and tried my best to get back for the 2 games, which luckily I was enough to. Look, you're there to perform for the team, and we put in 2 solid performances, a great performance down in Derry, which we were a bit unlucky about, a bit upset that we didn't come away with 2 points, but look, it's something to build on. There's lots of positives out of the 2 games, and it's something to look forward to for the rest of the campaign.
Brendan Flynn back in the squad on the bench for today. Killian Gaffey's been impressed at under 20 level. Do you feel a competition there breathing over your neck for the number 1 jersey?
Yeah, I suppose, look, competition is great. It drives you on to get better and to improve, and that's what you want. If you're not fighting for a place, there's no point getting relaxed about it or complacent, so there's good to have good boys behind you pushing you on to keep you going.
Longford next week, what's your thoughts going into that? This is kind of where most pundits would have figured our league really starts, with those first 2 games. We're 1 point up, people probably didn't expect it, but yet we find ourselves going into that Longford game with maybe the possibility of kind of putting a bit of space between us and the bottom of the table.
Yeah, look, I suppose we were written off in the first 2 games and we surprised a lot of people down in Derry, but I suppose within the group it wasn't a shock to us that we were capable of doing what we're doing. Longford is I suppose, it was a set target of 2 points there. It's a chance for us to get the first win of the league, first win in Division 3, so it's something we've set our targets on. We'll work in training for the next week hard, put our heads down, work and focus on Longford, and that's all we can do, and hopefully perform on the day.
Well done today.
Thank you very much.
I think Leitrim can be proud of the way they've attacked those first 2 games in the league, and they've really set themselves up to have a good shout at survival, something that not a lot of pundits or commentators nationally would have given Leitrim any hope of doing in Division 3 this year. They really have silenced some of those doubters. It'd be interesting to see how they get on. They face Longford in their next game on Sunday afternoon in Pairc Park in Longford. Well worth going along to see them compete against a team that they have realistic hopes of actually nailing a few points on the league table from. In terms of soccer, all eyes were on Manor Rangers in the Sligo Leitrim Super League top of the table clash with Cartron, and they faced their title rivals for the first time this season. 2 early goals for Manor in the shape of a penalty from Alan Hickey and joint top scorer of the league, Robbie Cunningham, put them 2-0 up in the first 11 minutes. But 11 minutes later, they found themselves 3-2 down. 3 goals in 10 minutes for Cartron saw them completely turn the game around, but Manor weren't to be defeated and they came back into the game. Alan Hickey got them back on level terms just before the half-hour mark. Before half hour from the end, on the hour, he managed to find the net again to put them 4-3 up. A cagey affair for the last half hour before Shane Walsh managed to bag the final goal to seal a 5-3 victory for the Manor Hamilton outfit. It really puts them in a great spot in their league title fight. They have now to play Cartron away and Carbery at home will be the 2 main key battles they have to face. 2 wins in those games would pretty much put one hand and the second hand reaching for that league title. It's going to be an interesting run into the season for everybody associated with Manor Rangers. In junior soccer as well, Carrick Town in action. Despite Stephen McLaughlin getting on the score sheet, they were beaten in their Premier Division clash with Gertrude and Celtic, played in Ballysadare, because again, same as the B Park, the showgrounds were unplayable on Sunday morning. So Carrick Town won, Gertrude and Celtic 4, and what's proven to be a tough season in their first year back in the Sligo Leitrim League. But I suppose the important thing there is that Carrick Town are back in the Sligo Leitrim League. Great to have a second team in that competition from the county. There was, of course, 2 other soccer games in the region of note, and that is in terms of pre-season friendlies for our local SSE Electricity League sides, and both Sligo and Longford in action this weekend. I went down to Athlone Town, where Sligo Rovers were the visitors, and they came out with a 1-0 victory over Athlone. Ronan Coughlin scoring early in the first half to give them the lead in that game. But the game will be more notable for a Sligo Rovers point of view by some of the bad news that came out of the game, and that was that due to a challenge early in the game, John Mahon was stretchered off, and it has been confirmed did break his leg and will be out for a period. So it looks like he will play very little again this season. Heartbreaking for the youngster from Sligo. They are in a bit of bother with injuries. We'll be talking about that later on in the programme to their assistant manager, John Russell, who's going to tell us all about how they're shaping up for the season ahead. We'll also have a little catch up with Niall Morahan, Leitrim's own representative in that squad. Niall Morahan, it's been a pretty good pre-season for Sligo Rovers. 3 wins on the bounce in your 4th game in the build-up to the start of the league in 2 weeks. How's it been going for you?
It's been going well, yeah. It was great to get back into the start of the season, and as you said, 3 wins on the bounce, so the boys are happy, and it was a tough enough run out today against Athlone, but a win is a win, and we're pushing on now next week to Cabinteely, so a big week's training ahead, and after Cabinteely, of course, start of the league, so everyone's really excited.
You must be itching to get back into proper competitive games in 2 weeks. Away to Finn Harps in the first game of the season. Nice local derby to get things going.
Yeah, of course, they're always a good encounter, and it's a nice one to get the league going, so we'll be expecting a big performance from ourselves, and hopefully we'll get off to a winning start.
Let's talk about today's game. 1-0 win, 1-0 scored by Ronan Coughlin in the first half, but the game probably most notable for an injury to John Mahon. It looked kind of serious. What's the prognosis, or obviously do you know anything yet about that?
I don't know. A few of the boys said he was being looked after in there, so a 50-50 challenge, and he just came out the worst side of it, so hopefully it's nothing too serious.
Squad looking good in terms of quality, a bit shy on numbers looking at the squad list and small numbers. Can you afford to take those kind of injuries to the team?
Not really, no. It is a tight squad, but they're all good players, and we'd hope we'd have the majority of them for the whole season, but of course it's a long season and you'd be prone to injuries, so hopefully there won't be anything too serious with any of the boys.
On a personal level, how is your own season looking?
It's going well so far. I've played a lot of minutes so far in pre-season, so I'll be hoping to make my way into the starting 11 come the start of the season.
Well, listen, the very best of luck. Well done today, and the very best of luck to you when you take on Finn Harps in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you, referee.
John Russell, assistant manager with Sligo Rovers. Pre-season's kind of shaping up nicely in terms of results, but a bit worrying. A bit of injury count is picking up as well, unfortunately.
It is, yeah. It was an awful tackle tonight on John, and you don't like to see that. I mean, we're telling players before the games, just be careful in the tackles, especially when you're coming on the Astro pitch. So that wasn't nice. We're waiting to hear on the results. I don't know if it's as bad as it looked. Hopefully for her sake it isn't, because we've had a few now. Regan went down with popped his shoulder on Tuesday night, and Johnny's knee as well, he got an injection there, so he won't be too bad, he's not too far off, but you don't like to see that early in pre-season. You want to keep lads fit and fresh.
In terms of the season's 2 weeks away, how are things looking? How's the morale like in the camp?
Yeah, it's good. The lads have worked extremely hard. It's 2 weeks to go now. Just getting minutes into the legs and getting an understanding of what we're trying to do. Like, we're lucky in that we kept the core group from last year, and we've added in 4 or 5 new players, and they're just getting used to everyone and getting used to the setup. But no, we're happy enough where we are at the moment.
A lot of positives going on around the club at the moment. New jersey, new sponsor, a new wall you're building at the back, taking a bit of inspiration from Donald Trump.
Yeah, I think it's something. The club's incredible for fundraising. They look at all different avenues, and it's another new initiative for them to try and get money in. And it is a struggle. The League of Ireland, there's so much stuff going on. We talk of all island leagues and all this, but clubs have to look at other revenue streams, and it's great to see the New Jersey come in and a new sponsor, and that can only help bring the club on to the next level. So hopefully, for us, that we're doing on the pitch and training and bringing into the season, and that the fans have something to shout about this year.
I don't want to get you bogged down in the politics of it, but in your other life, you're an employee of the FAI on secondment to Sligo Rovers. Good news this week in terms of the FAI, in terms of the fact that there's no redundancies and the game can start to grow again.
Yeah, brilliant news. Positive to hear that money's going to be put into the FAI, and the talk of the last couple of weeks was there going to be redundancies, and a lot of uncertainty. So it was positive news this week, and there's a lot of good work. I know, obviously being a development officer, the work that goes on behind the scenes, like the people wouldn't know. Grassroots at the lower levels, lads are out working 60-70 hours a week, helping clubs, running courses, working in schools, so to hear that those jobs should be safe now is really positive, and then hopefully there'll be investment into the league, into the men's league, the women's league, because I think we have been neglected. Even you hear about the other sports, greyhound racing, and like the money that's been put into football in this country, it's peanuts really. So hopefully it's a new era for everyone. There's fresh faces going in, and just hopefully that they can take it to another level.
Of course, from Sligo Rovers' point of view, Martin Hardy threw his name in the hat for the presidency, didn't make it. Happy to still have him around the club?
Yeah, I mean, Martin's done a great job, and you want people in the committee to be around and influencing the club and try and get Sligo to the next level. It's difficult. You look at Shamrock Rovers and Dundalk, the finances they have and the structures they have in place, but we're trying to develop not just on the pitch but off the pitch. So the likes of Martin and the guys in the committee, they're doing great work, and the more time they have to spend with Sligo Rovers, the better for the club.
From a Leitrim point of view, given this is Leitrim Daily, Avantcard, the Leitrim-based company, but obviously based across the region, staff from all over the place. How important is it to have a local business on the front of the jersey for a community club like Rovers?
Yeah, it's huge. Really exciting to see a local company come on board, and obviously Sligo, the league is Sligo Leitrim, and there's a huge catchment area there and a lot of fans, and you have the likes of Niall Moran, obviously who's in the first team, which is brilliant. He's representing the county, so brilliant news for the club, and hopefully that it's a sponsor and a company that really engage with the club, because sometimes in the League of Ireland, the companies come on board and that's it, but even the early signs from social media and what they're doing, they seem to be driving. I think I saw thing there during the week that all the staff with the jerseys on them and in their offices, which is great to see, and you're just hoping now that that'll catch on and get them down to the games and spread the word, because for League of Ireland it's that niche, the same fans that come out, and it's the people that don't really know about the league. So having a new kind of company or fresh company come in, hopefully that'll kind of open the doors for other people to maybe come to Sligo and get behind us.
Finally, better talk about the football. Season's about to start in 2 weeks' time. Away to Finn Harp's the first day out. What's the prognosis for the season? What's the expectation within the squad in terms of how the season will go for you?
Yeah, every game you go in, we want to try and win. That's the bottom line. As a club, we're trying to build it on and off the pitch, and based off last year, we kind of steadied the ship a bit, but we need to try and improve on last year. Obviously points tally, we want to try and get a better points tally, develop our style of play. I think last year, a lot of new players came in and we were playing a couple of different formations, and it took us a while to settle, and because the players arrived late, again, fitness levels and where they were at and understanding their strengths and weaknesses probably took us the first series of games really to settle, where this year we have a core group of players in from the start, so we're hoping that we'll hit the ground running this year, and as I said, we're trying to win every game we go out, and we'll see where that takes us.
I suppose finally, as an Norwich City fan, when I heard Sligo signed Teemu P from Finland, I was very excited, but then I found out it was a centre back and left back rather than a striker. How much the likes of himself and Will Seymour, how much will they add to the squad this season?
We've identified them as players that can come in and play in the team. They're not coming in just to make up numbers. We've kept the core group from last year, as I said, but we identified 4 or 5 players that could bring us to the next level, and that's what we want. We're trying to push the club on, and the likes of Will and Teemu, they've been great since they've come in. They're still finding their feet. We're only 4 weeks in, but from what I've seen so far in training and the bits and pieces in the games, they've done really well, and I think they'll do well in the league, and hopefully that'll help us going forward.
Well, listen, well done today, and best luck for the season ahead.
Thanks, Bradley.
Longford, of course, also in action. They played host to Finn Harps, and the First Division side, Longford, who look like in really good shape for a tilt at the First Division title this year. They hosted Harps in what's now called Bishopsgate, the new sponsorship arrangement in terms of their stadium, but it's on the Strokestown Road. It's formerly known as Avantcard Pairc, and then also known as City Calling Stadium for the last few years. It will be known as Bishopsgate over the next season or so. They hosted Harps, and they ran out 2-1 winners. Some really exciting new players signed for those, and I caught up with their manager Dara Doyle after the game, and I also spoke to an old friend of mine, their captain Dean Zambra, about his experience in Longford over the last few years and how the club is developing and trying to engage more in the local community. Dean Zambra, captain of Longford Town. Nice to be back playing a bit of football pre-season, getting ready for the new season ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to it. Obviously, we get a big break like with League of Ireland football, so we're always hungry to get back in. So a couple of weeks in now, played a couple of games, and good to get a game at home tonight against Finn Harps.
Nice to get a win against Premier Division opposition as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you want to do well in pre-season. It's all about performance and fitness levels and things like that, but it's nice to get a result, and it was good to get a first win in the pre-season tonight.
In terms of the game, how do you think it went for you?
Yeah, I thought it was good in the first half. We had a good shape about us, and we knew it was going to be a physical battle against Finn Harps, their style of play, so I thought we stood up to it well, and we played some of our own decent football as well. So particularly the first half I thought was good, and plenty of changes in the second half, but managed to hang on for the win as well, so pleasing all around.
Team based in Dublin because you train up there, but there's a local element here in terms of Aid Irvin, local guy, and some of the Leitrim lads coming through the underage ranks as well. How important is it to have that local identity within the club? I
think it's vitally important. You need to have an identity with the town you're playing in, and I think myself and a couple of other senior players have mentioned that we need to do more to kind of reach out to the community down here and make the link between the club and the players and the team on the pitch stronger. And obviously A is brilliant for that, because he's been in the first team the last couple of years and done really well on the pitch. I think when you have a player playing well on the pitch, it brings people out from the town because there's an excitement about one of their own playing for their own hometown team.
In terms of, this is weird talking to you in Longford, because normally when I'm talking to you it's either like somewhere like Serbia or America. We bump into each other all over the world. But in terms of you've been here a few years now, and obviously you would have grown up in Bray, in that neck of the woods. Played with Bray, you've moved out to Longford. Does it kind of feel like a second home to you?
Yeah, I suppose it does a little bit, I'd be closing in now on the same number of appearances for Longford as I did for Bray. Still a little bit off that, but not that far off, so it's almost an even split between my time as a senior player with Bray. I played a couple of years underage, so it does feel like a second home almost, and I've got affinity with the club. I know a lot of the people around here now, and always great people, like a rock solid club. So yeah, I love being here. It's been great. New
sponsor this year in the form of Bishopsgate. Stadium name changes as well. Does it get used to jumping around with all the different names? How do you manage to remember where you're playing every week? Yeah, it's interesting. It's just a kind of rebranding thing here. It's nice. Seeing on the jersey tonight for the first time. So yeah, it brings a bit of excitement, and I think it's good for the club. Get good investment from Bishopsgate. So hopefully that's a good partnership going forward. Now, in terms of the season, playoffs last year, can you go one better this year? Is promotion the target? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, promotion is the target. There's no point in hiding that. But we just need to do our work. We felt we could have done it last year, and we were just a little bit short. So we want to go one better and get promoted this year. In terms of the players that have come in, can you tell us about some of the players you've been playing with this season that might not be that familiar to the followers down here in the Longford Leitrim region?
Yeah, well, obviously we've signed Rob Manley, who was the top scorer in the league last year, so I think that one stands out initially. Done really well for Cabinteely last year. Obviously the brother of Joe, her centre half. So I think Rob will bring a lot. We signed Joe Gorman, centre half from Cliftonville. And Joe's been around, played in a number of clubs, played in Scotland, so he'll be one to watch out for as well. And then we've brought in a number of young lads, which bolsters the ranks. A couple of different positions there filled in with young players, and I'm sure the crowd will like what they see. We certainly do. So over the course of the season, I'm sure you'll get to see what all those players can do.
First season with Dara Doyle in charge from the start. He came in obviously towards the end of last season after Neil Fenn left. What difference has it been this season compared to last at this stage of the year?
Yeah, I think Dara's done really great. Obviously he came in the last 6 to 8 weeks and brought Johnny Martin with him, and he didn't change a whole lot, but he tweaked a couple of little things that I think we needed, and I thought we looked better than like the last couple of weeks of the season, and he's just tried to continue in that vein, setting out what way he wants us to play and how he wants us to do it, and it's been good so far in pre-season, so we're hoping to keep going and keep learning and keep developing what he wants to do and bring it into the season then when it starts.
Listen, well done tonight, and the tractor here behind us is going mad at it, so I'll let you go. But Dean, thanks very much, and the best of luck for Dara Doyle.
Great,
it's getting close to the start of the season. You must be excited. First year as the main man.
Yeah, listen, we've 3 weeks to go. Delighted to be in a position where I'm overseeing things and managing this group of players, and can't wait for it to get started. At the minute, we're not sure who we're playing in 3 weeks, but all I really care about is that, as far as we're concerned, we're playing and starting the league in 3 weeks' time, and we're getting ready to prepare as best as we can. Once that time arrives, we're ready and raring to go.
Talk to us a bit about that, because there's a couple of different permutations that could happen. If Limerick are admitted into the league, you've got this Shield competition for a few weeks. If they're not, you may or may not be playing Shamrock Rovers in the first round of the season. Talk us through what's going through the club's head in your own position.
From the club's head, from our point of view, we've got to get players ready to play on that date and that weekend, and that's where we're going. As regards the situation itself, to be honest, it's a bit of a farce. The way the FAI sent out the second set of fixtures with the Shields, and the Shield seems to be nothing really looking at it. They seem to be more or less glorified friendlies. We're in the group in the Shield with 5 teams, and there's a team idle in that as well. So to be honest, I can't see that Shield and that second set of fixtures. I'm more or less looking past them, because to be honest, I think they're ridiculous. I think they're disrespectful to the First Division teams, and I think it's plain wrong that they just put that information out without any information of how would Shamrock Rovers be in it, what type of players they play, are Limerick going to be added into it? We just don't know, and I think, like I say, you have the licensing issue on the 6th of February, and I expect to know more after then to see who gets licences, and then I suppose it's up to the FAI to make sure they put best practice in place to make sure that they give their league the respect that it deserves going forward, and I think that's very important.
In terms of the group of players that you mentioned, some new additions, some big names, some not so big names in terms of recognisability around the league. Talk to us about some of the names that have come in this season.
Yeah, well, listen, really happy with the lads that we've brought in. Obviously, you mentioned we've brought in 1 or 2 big names in the league. We've brought in the Player of the Year in the division last year, and Rob Manley, who was the top goal scorer. We've brought in James English, who's a noted goal scorer for Shelbourne over the last number of years. And we've brought in Dylan Hand from Dundalk. We've brought in Aaron McNally, who would have been come through their 19s. He's just out of 19s. Eric Abulu from Shamrock Rovers. Joe Gorman in, who's a very experienced centre back there. Been around, been in the UK. Being up the north, so we're delighted to get him in. We've youngster Matthew O'Brien in midfield that's come in, who's a really bright prospect. We have Niall Barnes, who's come in on the left hand side, and he's going to be a threat for teams. Like you see there tonight, he had a really good game and he got himself on the score sheet. So really pleased with the players we've brought in. I could probably add 1 or 2 more, but delighted with the retention of players and the players they've added. They've added to the strength of the group. They're good characters. They see what we want to achieve this year, and listen, we're all going in that right direction to get what we want this year, and it'll take hard work, but I feel I have the right squad there to get what we want.
You came in as an intermediate manager towards the end of last season. You got the job and you got your business done really early in the transfer market. Has that helped you get the squad settled into the pre-season?
Yeah, I believe so. Once I was confirmed as manager there, I made it my business of going and meeting players really quickly, going and sitting down in front of them, talking to them, explaining exactly what we want to do, how we're going to do it, and how I saw them players have been a part of it. The great thing with retaining them players and being able to announce them was then when I spoke to new players, I was able to say, look, we have that done. When we add you to our group, we're going to be even stronger. And that was great to get that done. So I was delighted to be able to get a lot of business done early, and I think that stood to us.
There's a couple of teams seem to be reaching for players this year. Galway have invested fairly heavily in their squad. There's a couple of other clubs there as well. What's the goal for the season?
The goal is to win the league. It really is. I think we've got a really, really good group of players there to achieve something special. If we achieve something special this year, it is going to be winning the league, and that's what we want to do. You talked about the teams that we've be coming up against. You mentioned Galway, who have invested heavily, and they will be up and thereabouts. You have Drogheda, who came very close last year. Again, you'll have Bray, who possibly, may be disappointed with not getting in the playoffs last year. We'll feel they'll have more to offer this year. Cabinteely, I know although they've lost some players, I still expect them to be competitive. And then you have UCD, who've dropped down, and they're probably at the start of a cycle, to be honest, but they'll have some really good players. They'll be well organised, they'll play good football, and listen, they could be there or thereabouts. So it is going to be a competitive league, and one which we're looking forward to getting going in.
The very best of luck for the league season whenever it kicks off, whoever it's against, all that to be decided in the week or so when the licensing kicks in.
Exactly. Listen, really appreciate that. Great to talk to you. Thank you.
Now, in rugby, I suppose all eyes are on the Six Nations this weekend. No local interest there yet, but you never know, it might be something we look at in the future, because in under 17, Carrick and Shannon out in action in the semi-final of the league, unfortunately beaten by Corrib 29 points to 13 after a superb solo effort by Patrick Charles and the second try from Jack Flanagan. And Mark Lenihan hit a 35-metre penalty into the wind for the 13 points from Carrick and Shannon Rugby Club, but unfortunately it wasn't to be their day, and just didn't get going until the second half of the game, by which point Corrib were already out of sight. So congratulations to them for reaching the semi-final, and hard luck to those young lads in the under-17 side in Carrick and Shannon for losing out on terms of where they are in the league. That's a disappointing way to end. Nobody likes to lose a semi-final. And that, folks, is all we have time for today. Thank you very much to all of my guests for their contributions to the show this week. It has been a good couple of weeks for Leitrim Gaelic Games, and particularly for the footballers who I think they've done themselves proud, and they've upset all of the expectations that were put on them from the outside coming in, and they've really looked like they've gelled really, really well since that defeat a couple of weeks ago in the FBD League. And I have really good feelings about our opportunity to stay up in Division 3 this year. There seems to be a really good team morale in the camp, and that comes through in all the conversations we're having on the record and off the record with the players. That's really nice to see in a Leitrim team, and the very best of luck to them going forward to the Longford game. We, of course, will be talking to some of the members of the squad ahead of that particular clash. Don't forget, the voting for our Athlete of the Year, our Sportsperson of the Year awards is open now. You have until Wednesday to get your vote in, and that's all done at leitrimdaily.com/vote. If you haven't got the email from us, don't forget to sign up to our email list. Just go to leitrimdaily.com and click on newsletter and put in your email address, and we'll let you know when that vote is open, so you can have your say and be part of the conversation about who Leitrim's Sports Person of the Month will be across the three categories: local, national and international. I'll be back with you later in the week. We're going to be talking about hearth math with Charlotte Mary Ray, a coach based in County Leitrim. Talk to you then.